I have a wellness and fitness business, and I deal with a lot of adults who are parents. And all of a sudden, there's another priority, like on the laundry list of priorities, something's rushed to the top, and that is the mental health of their kids or their parents or themselves. And they don't necessarily have the tool, who did, really, to be locked down for, well, your experience of being locked down was unbelievable. And then to think that we're just going back, in rabbit ear quotation marks, going back into regular life without addressing what's happened, because there's neuroplasticity, right? Our brains rewire to good things and to learning and to stress and to chronic pain. So our brains have rewired to being locked down and having different stressors. And we're not coping, is what I'm finding. And as much as people want to pretend that it's all back to normal, it's not necessarily the truth 100% of the time.
Hello, listeners and community. I'm just popping on here for a quick second to ask you for a favor and some support. If you are enjoying my episodes and my podcast, can you please go and like and comment and leave a review? And most importantly, download the episodes and download the podcast. As well, you can head over to YouTube for Entrepreneurial Elevation, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel as I'm attempting to grow my podcast and grow my audience. That would mean the world to me. I appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for being here and for listening. My goal is to impact as many people's lives as I can by creating as much value as I can. So the bigger the audience, the better. And as well, I wanted to also hop on here quickly and offer you a freebie to support yourself. So if you go into the show notes, you can find a link and click there. And I've created a freebie called Laying the Foundation for a Financial Breakthrough with Your Mindset and Results. And it's a framework and a workbook that you can do to support you in getting clear right now on what are your values, what really matters to you, what are you internally inspired by, so that you can set goals for this coming year that align with your values. And then you can have a tool called the Definite Made Purpose Statement. It's taken from the book Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And you can use this tool to speak your goals and your values and the things that you desire into existence with the belief that it is possible because you say so. And then a self-confidence formula to solidify that belief that you can have, do, and be anything that you desire. So check that out. I created that just for you. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of my community and listening to my podcast. Like I said, my goal is for you to get value. So thanks for listening. And without further ado, let's get to this episode. Welcome, fellow entrepreneurs and goal getters, to Entrepreneurial Elevation, Unleashing Greatness Within, with myself, your host, Kelly Beveridge, and my dear friend, Linda G. Hesketh. I am so excited to have her on the call today. She is a multi-passionate business owner. She's a kinesiologist. She helps get profound results in your health, fitness, mindset, your life. She has a community called Level Up. She's also a mom, a grandma, a wife, a friend to many. And what I personally love about Linda, and it's funny because she just did this before we hopped on the call, she's just such a wealth of information in health and wellness, but she's also that friend that just has an immense amount of random facts. Like when I hang out with Linda and I leave her presence, I feel smarter because I've always learned something, because she's always like, did you know? And of course, whatever she shares with me, I didn't know. And so she's that friend, and she's laughing for those of you who are listening because she knows it's true. And so I'm just really grateful to have her on the call today to share her passion and her wisdom and her knowledge with all of you who are listening. Today's topic is really important, and I feel it's going to be relatable for a lot of people. And we're going to be talking about post-pandemic mental health and anxiety through the household with kids and parents, and how to go about reducing anxiety through mindful practices. And just Linda, thanks for being on my
Oh, thank
podcast.
you for the
Welcome.
privilege to be on and teaching and serving and connecting. I love our conversations. Everybody gets to be a fly on the wall on our.
Totally. It was basically, we're going to be chatting today how Linda
Oh
and
my
I
God.
just chat all the time. Yet it's always something profound we learn about each other and ourselves. And I think that's what's cool about our relationship. And Linda, I want to dive right into the problem first because I want to ask you, what have you noticed in families since the pandemic when it comes to anxiety leveled with families and the impact of mental health, especially with the kids and the children?
This is a beautiful question. Thank you for asking this because I have a wellness and fitness business, and I deal with a lot of adults who are parents. And all of a sudden, there's another priority, like on the laundry list of priorities, something's rushed to the top, and that is the mental health of their kids or their parents or themselves. And they don't necessarily have the tool. Who did, really? Like to be locked down for, well, your experience of being locked down was unbelievable. And then to think that we're just going back in rabbit ear quotation marks, going back into regular life without addressing what's happened, because there's neuroplasticity, right? Our brains rewire to good things and to learning and to stress and to chronic pain. Our brains have rewired to being locked down and having different stressors. And we're not coping, is what I'm finding. And as much as people want to pretend that it's all back to normal, it's not necessarily the truth 100% of the time.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think that it's so true because even myself, I forget COVID happened sometimes. I'm like, oh, that happened. Yet the ripple effect of how I show up in my life now, even in this present moment, is being impacted through my experience of COVID. And then you bring that into the families too, and everybody just kicked themselves, dusted themselves off and went away with their new normal without any kind of coping mechanisms or skills, or like you said, even addressing maybe the impact it's had. And I agree with you so much. It's created a lot of, I know, even with my friends, they all have kiddos from young ages to teenagers. And within the family dynamics, there's mental health and anxiety that's running through the families. And I know you deal with a lot of clients, Linda. Can you give some examples of maybe what families are experiencing in this aftermath of COVID with mental health?
Some examples, and this isn't restricted to the kids or a certain gender, let's say. There's way more screen time. There's way more addiction. I would even call it an addiction to social media, to being on their screens. They're out of the habit of being outside. They may have a new habit of certain, let's say, comfort foods or junk foods, or they may have a different habit of eating out or bringing food in, or just like dispersing to different parts of the house because they're used to a different amount of alone time. And for kids, a lot of it is unsupervised, screen, alone time. And under 25 years old, their brains are still forming, even though like somebody might be 20, 21, and technically they're an adult. Their brains are still forming. That wiring is still getting established. So it's having an impact from health, from activity, from behavior. I think there are a lot of addictions that are carried over, whether it's alcohol, recreational drugs, social media, or lots of numbing with viewing like Netflix. I see it.
Yeah, all those kind of things, hey? And I want to hang out here for a minute before we go into solutions and mindful practices, because I think it's really important to talk about this with what people are seeing. And we talked about all of those things, and that I think is for children and adults as well.
Yet sometimes I feel, unfortunately, the parent gets a little bit neglected in this scenario because the focus is so much on the kids. I'm just curious when it comes to the parents. I want to talk about them for a second. In what ways does the children's anxiety, which stems from their behavior now, impact the parent? And what are you seeing parents go through with their own mental health with
I
this?
think parents are feeling helpless because they don't know how to reach their child. So if you can't reach them, you can't teach them. I think parents are feeling frustrated because even if they try to make a suggestion, the consistency isn't being adhered to. Let's say that the parent says, okay, let's limit screen time to 3 hours a day. And then one day it slips up and they're on for 5 hours or 7 hours or 12 hours. And then they're kind of like, oh, back to square one, or that didn't work, I'll just drop it. Depending on what the parent's level of self-leadership is, they might just drop that whole campaign, if I can call it that, with their child, when really it needs a startup and it needs the example to be set. But also, if you have somebody who's working from home, then it's almost like it, quote unquote, justifies that the adult is on their screen or on their computer or on Zoom or whatever. And then it's almost hypocritical to be telling their child not to be. So it's this identity and the amount of authority, it's the amount of setting an example. And there's a huge amount of fatigue and frustration. If the parents aren't sleeping well, if they're not feeling on top of their game, if they're feeling frustrated, the way that they're dealing with their child might not be the best solution for that child. And especially if we have 3 kids. They don't all live at home at the same time, but it's each of those 3 would have needed a different approach. And so then you're like dealing with your own stuff, and then you're trying to be creative for 3 different individuals. And then you're trying to be consistent with your partner, the other adult in the house, if there is another one. Sometimes that's good because there's third-party validation. You have another voice reiterating the importance of the campaign, the health campaign. But sometimes in a single parent household, it's just one against the other, and then you're butting heads. And that's its own stress. And on top of that, you're trying to get groceries, you're trying to get dinner, you're trying to get
to live life, work,
traffic.
It's overwhelming.
And then job security, and then inflation and debt. It's compounding.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
That is a lot. As you're sitting there thinking, and I'm thinking the parent, fortunately, unfortunately, leads the charge in that based on how they're showing up. Yeah. So my question would be, what tips do you have for parents to support themselves so that they can be grounded through their own anxiety and emotions and daily dealings, and then be able to be a support system for their kids? Because it's like you can't pour from an empty cup, right? Yet listen to what you just described. That's a lot of responsibility. So I'm just curious what tips you have for parents to even start to take a look at this.
This is a beautiful question. I love that you asked this question, because there is a definite cycle of sleep, and then you wake up and you have the right amount of energy, and then you have the right kind of appetite, and then you have the nutrition, and then you can train, and then you can recover by having the sleep, and then the cycle keeps repeating itself. Because sometimes you get into this terrible cycle where your sleep is off, and then you're eating foods that you wouldn't normally eat. And then that's creating more fatigue. And then that's creating the inability to exercise or train to manage your mental health. And then that's interrupting your sleep. And so then you get into this vicious cycle. But the way to interrupt that cycle, the easiest, most efficient gateway to that on-ramp is sleep. And so I spend a lot of time with my clients talking about sleep. I have a freebie about how to save the day after you've had a crap sleep. We can give your listeners, your audience, that Absolutely. And there are different methods of doing it. It's, if I could give you 10 methods, it's choose your path of least resistance, right? Choose the one that's the easiest one for you to implement based on your own situation. And some are zero cost.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
what people don't realize is that sleep comes from the hormone melatonin. Like, it's something we produce in our bodies. It's not just a supplement that we buy over the counter. And that melatonin is paired with cortisol, which is a stress hormone. My sleep tonight is built on what I've done this morning. And I can reset it in 3 days, like in 72 hours.
Interesting. Can you give some examples of some methods, like to those who are listening? I know you said there's quite a few, but what would be 2 or 3 tips you would give people to start to have better sleep?
The first one I would say is, I should first say, call myself out. I am earnest about this subject because I am historically a crap sleeper. And I told myself a lie for many decades that, I'm one of those people who only needs 5 hours of sleep a night. What I didn't realize is I was frying my adrenal glands because I was always living in that adrenaline fight or flight. And I completely burnt myself out and had a complete crash in my 40s. Like, I thought I was narcoleptic because I would fall asleep in the middle of just doing things. I was so exhausted. Like, I actually just drove myself into the ground and didn't realize it. And it took me 1.25 years to come back. Yeah. So
Crazy.
When I talk about sleep, I think one of the most important things would be to set a time. And this was so resistant, right? It's, when you're a kid, you just want to be an adult, so you don't have a bedtime. It's, no, you need a bedtime. So give yourself a regular time. Let's say you're not a shift worker, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. And stick with it weekend, weekday, holidays, days off, vacation. That getting yourself on a circadian rhythm that you can respect so your body can build some foundation is super important. And that's important for the kids too. And then typically people have problems in 3 areas. It's falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking refreshed. And one of the best ways to get a good sleep is to have our core body temperature decrease by 1 to 2 degrees Celsius when we're sleeping. And our built-in air conditioner is our hydration. And people are chronically dehydrated. So when we're not drinking enough water, our core temperature is going to run hot, which is going to interrupt our sleep. So that would be the second strategy. I think.
This is so interesting to me.
When people think, but I drink water all day, or I don't want to stop at every Starbucks and every McDonald's to go to the bathroom. It's no, like, I'm drinking as much as I can. Even 1.5% dehydration can lead to mood change, depression, cognitive function, difficulty, lower self-esteem. And if I calculate how much water I need on a day that I don't exercise, on a day that I don't have caffeine in the form of coffee, tea, chocolate, a beverage, being deficient by 1.5% is like 1 mouthful. It's 35 mils of water. Okay, there's like a fine line between everything, like the wheels fall off and functioning. There's not a lot of grace period.
Just curious, when it comes to water, what would be that average amount that somebody should be getting, if you can mention that?
This is a good question. If you take your body weight in pounds and you divide it by 2, that would be the number of ounces that you need in a day to sustain life.
Okay, that's an easy way.
Unless you're thinking in metric. So you take that number and you divide it by 4, and that gives you the number of liters if you're thinking in metric. For example, if somebody weighs 200 pounds, divide that by 2 is 100. 100 divided by 8, so 8-ounce glasses, is 13. 13 divided by 4 is 3 1/4. A 200-pound person needs 3 1/4 liters of water a day to sustain life. That's not including caffeine, not including exercise, not including living at altitude, and not including living in a dry climate. I know, right?
Wow. Okay. This is such, and the thing that is so funny about what you're sharing, not funny yet, just in a way, we've been told this forever. Do you know what I mean? Get sleep, drink water. Get sleep and drink water. Like, it actually can be simple. And for some reason, it's not so simple.
Because people are looking for something exotic. It's, if I drink more water, maybe I should get that electrolyte drink. No, just drink the water. Put 5 or 6 grains of sea salt in your water. And if you have 500 ml, shake it up. You won't taste it, but it'll stay in you for longer because all of our biological water is salty. Like, our tears are salty. Our perspiration is salty. If you put it in a little bit salty, but it doesn't taste salty, then your body will hold it for longer. And our kidneys have a circadian rhythm. So they function really efficiently in the first 10 hours that I'm awake. So let's take that person who goes to bed at 10 and wakes up at 7. The first 10 hours for me would be from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. And you can just think this is a really beautiful, elegant system, because if I have high kidney function for the first 10 hours, and every hour I drink 250 ml, then I will get enough water. And then from 5 p.m. until I go to bed, I don't need a lot. And kidneys are functioning a little slower, a little less efficiently. But that's beautiful because I don't need to be getting up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, right? Front load the day and come up with some kind of prompt, accountability, tracking, reward. So whether it's an app, whether you have to text a girlfriend every hour and just send a check mark or set a timer on your watch, but it can make a big difference. And people will notice they're losing body fat. Their brain is more alert. Their mood is better. Their sleep is deeper. Their muscles are less crampy. Their joints are more fluid and less crinkly. Like, their periods are better. It's amazing. Less puffiness under their eyes, sore throats and sinus issues through the winter. Totally makes a difference.
Yeah. Such great advice and information, Linda. Sorry, go ahead.
So some of the signs that you're dehydrated would be like if you have a lot of vascular. I had one kid who right outside the end of their eyebrow, like in their temple of their forehead, would look like a bunch of worms, like a plate of spaghetti, which would tell me that they were dehydrated. If they were looking more vascular, if they're having nosebleeds, if they're having cramp, like a tick or something, or if you have like really bad cramps during a menstrual cycle, or if you getting calf cramps or foot cramps, or constipation, a urine that's any color of tea, like any kind of dark or brown. And like to urinate 8 times a day is very normal. But people redefine their normal when they're dehydrated. So that was a lot of information. Sorry. You asked one question.
No, I love it. I think it's
no.
I think it's a perfect though, right? Because as you were explaining just what families are going through, that it's a lot and it could be overwhelming. And then we're going to say, hey, now it's time to start putting tools in place and mindful practices. And I think that could be overwhelming for some people, and especially for family that maybe that's not normal language, even in the first place. So it's, in my mind, I was thinking, where can people just start? Like, where can they just start where it doesn't create more overwhelm? It's actually going to be something that's easy, a new habit that's doable. where you can start to see a major difference. And that's just what you talked about. At the end of the day, you can start with your water consumption and then practicing getting better sleep, and the impact that just those two things can have with your mindset, with your nervous system, with your anxiety levels is massive. And I think everybody can start there. And so I love that you went into the explanation to share about why and the importance of it and the impact. It's so huge. So thank you for sharing. And I do want to add, because I've been attempting to drink way more water. And so don't do the thing where you drink most of it at night, because I will get till 5 p.m. and be like, I haven't had my water intake and I'll be chugging water and I am up throughout. So it's counteracting productive.
Yeah.
So start early.
Check it out. You're going to do the other thing, like you're going to front load your day and then you're going to send me a message.
How it goes. I totally am. And I'm going to be like, thank you. Once again, simple and common sense. Yeah, why wasn't I doing it? So you heard it here first, or maybe 100 times, but maybe first where you're going to actually do something about
it. It's not common sense though, Kel. It's not. People don't know that our kidneys have a circadian rhythm. People think, oh, everybody thinks they eat well. Everybody thinks they're hydrated. That's the baseline that I'm meeting clients on. It's everybody thinks they've got that handled. Actually, okay, let's run some numbers.
Oh, thanks for sharing that actually, though, because that is so true. Okay, so I'm curious. We talked about sleep. We talked about water. What are some other mindful practices that families can implement throughout the household to support their dynamic in a healthy way?
3, 4 more. One would be nostril breathing.
Hi, I'm Tanya and this is Julie, and we are the founders of Coach Core, your all-in-one solution for building and scaling a successful coaching business.
At Coach Core, we provide you with everything you need in one place. You can house your courses, manage memberships, run email campaigns, and create stunning websites and funnels, all with our easy-to-use platform.
And it's not just about the software. We offer built-in coaching and mentorship, helping you implement best practices from certified NLP practitioners and story brand coaches. And that's just scratching the surface of what's inside.
And that's why we're excited to sponsor the Entrepreneurial Elevation podcast with Kelly Beveridge. Kelly is a thought leader who inspires and elevates entrepreneurs worldwide.
We believe in the power of community and continuous learning, and this podcast is a fantastic resource for any coach looking to truly grow their practice.
So join us on this journey. Tune into the Entrepreneurial Elevation podcast for insights and inspiration, and visit Coach Core to transform your coaching business today.
Coach Core, your path to coaching success.
So we have 2 parts to our nervous system. That's like the nervous system is king. And then we have the part that we control. Like I get up, I decide I'm going to walk up the stairs and go outside. The other part of my nervous system is called the autonomic nervous system. It's highly automatic. So my heart rate goes up, my heart rate goes down. Digestion turns on, digestion turns off. Like stuff I don't have to think about because I have 2 branches there. And it's like the yin and the yang, if you think about Taoist Asian philosophy. One is rev up, one is calm down, like the gas and the brake. And we need both. One is if this wall fell down on me, I'd take a big mouth breath. I'd close up my joints to protect my organs, my heart, my head. My pupils would dilate so that I could see better, to see what the threat is. Blood would rush to my muscles in case I had to fight or run away. And you can appreciate that's an important system. If I have to run from a fire, or if I have to run from a bear, or like something is really threatening. But we are using that part of our nervous system to live in when we don't like our boss, when we have road rage and we're in traffic, when we're driving to a lesson with our kids because we're late, because we can't word the email that we're trying to express ourselves in our home-based business, and we're working outside of our zone of genius, and we're trying to do the accounting and take out the garbage and do copywriting, do the social media and do the outbound calls and do the accounting. And I might have said that twice because I don't.
Downy must be your sore spot.
out. Yeah, it's the other side. Oh, I should mention another thing that puts us into that zone is refined sugar, caffeine. So we can think about our kids, right? We're giving them too much juice and they have too much sugar. It's a stressor. But on the other side of that other branch is where we rest and repair and digest. This is where we grow our muscle. This is where we release human growth hormone. This is where we learn a new skill. This is where our mental health recovers. The other side, like if I'm running from a bear or running from a fire, there's no time to grow fingernails and smooth out any wrinkles or take care of cellulite or some of the things that we want. This, like when we're in this side, it's literally where you crap your pants because it's the body is saying, I don't want any food in your system to digest. So when people have a panic attack and they're frozen in this, that's when they vomit. That's when they evacuate their intestines because the body doesn't want to be having the stressor of digesting food when they're running from the bear. So you want to spend time in this other side. And one of the quickest ways to get into the other side is nostril breathing. And we have access to that all the time. When we're driving, when the kids are lifting off, when we haven't had enough sleep, when we burnt dinner, when the bills come in the mail, like all the things. Nostril breathing.
And so just to clarify, when you say nostril breathing, you literally just mean close your mouth and breathe through your nose. Okay. Just wanted to double check if we were supposed to be doing anything fancy. Okay. So that is doable. That is absolutely doable.
Are
That's
lots
so
of
interesting.
breathwork practices that are very effective, but this one's so simple. And this is one that you can teach your kids.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think their kids are getting bullied or they're getting
it's-
teased or they're nervous about a test or they're going to a new school or they have a new friend group, breathing through their nose. And if they can do that for 71 seconds, they can reset their nervous system. If they are positive,
I love that,
thoughts,
Linda, because
71 seconds.
Yeah. That's a great tool to have because the kids can just do it without looking strange or having to go somewhere, or it could be in their self, in their body, in the environment they're in, and just take that time to re-ground themselves through something so simple. That's a really great tool. I love that. Okay, what are your other ones? You said you had 4.
I said I had 4 more, but I don't want to. In my lifetime, I have dealt with some severe PTSD. And I did lots of talk therapy, lots of journaling. It wasn't working. They asked me to reenact. And I was like, yeah, I'm not down for it. I quit. I'm out. And I had this amazing guy in my life, and I didn't want to marry him with any of this baggage. So part of me was like, I want to get married. I don't want this baggage. I don't want to bring all of this emotional stuff. And then I had one last thing suggested. I was like, okay, that sounds fucking ridiculous. Okay, but I'll try it. It's the last, but that's the last one. And it's called EMDR. Eye movement desensitization, something. But it worked. And I got married to Rich. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. So what is that? What is EMDR? I feel like I've heard that before, yet I don't know what it is.
I'm going to take the cheat code out of the therapy. When your eyes move horizontally, it accesses a part of your nervous system that rest and restore and repair that side that we were talking about. Like we're basically meant to live in that and use that fight or flight, freeze or fawn when we need it. But what we've done in our modern society is we live here instead. So when we have our eyes go back and forth, we can calm our nervous system. The easiest way to do that is to go outside for a walk and don't look at your phone.
Oh,
So if I'm walking, I am naturally scanning left and right because I'm looking for traffic. I'm looking for dogs. I'm looking for ice or sticks on the ground. I just don't want to trip. I will naturally look at the horizon and I will go side to side. And even a 5-minute walk will help. If you can grab your kids with your dog, go for a walk around the block. And it gets the adrenaline out of your system from whatever has been going on in the busyness of the day. Fight or flight, all of that adrenaline, all of that masculine energy. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it has its place. And its place is not 100% of the time. Going for a walk is a zero cost way to really calm your nervous system. Just make sure that your eyes are not on your phone or a device. So that's why the treadmill, if you're watching a television show on the treadmill, doesn't necessarily work, even though you went and walked on the treadmill for 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. These tools are so great because they're so practical and everybody can do them, yet you're sharing the meaning behind it, which I think for me, anyways, make me want to do it more because I'm understanding the value. What would be the third one?
Okay, I said that melatonin and cortisol are on a circadian cycle, right? So getting back to that person who wants to go to bed at 10 and wake up at 7, the 4 hours before 10 p.m. is when I'm supposed to be getting my melatonin built up to the level so that at 10 o'clock, it'll hit that threshold and I'll be sleepy. And then I'm asleep, and then I will release human growth hormone between 12 and 2. And then I can repair the things that give me chronic pain, or if I have an injury, or if I have a cold, or if I'm dealing with something, right? And then at about 2 a.m., that human growth hormone and the melatonin drops off, and cortisol starts to build up for the next 4 hours until about 6 a.m. And then it hits a threshold and it causes my connective tissue to contract a little bit and it wakes me up. And then my cortisol is high when I wake up first thing in the morning. And if I can get light into my eyes, especially natural light from outside into my eyes, even for 5 or 10 minutes, there are invisible wavelengths of light that will help reset that melatonin for that night. Yeah.
Interesting. So in the morning, like first thing in the morning, do your best to get up and just get outside.
You could even throw the window open and just look out the window. Yeah. And you don't have to be looking at the sun. And it still works if it's a cloudy day or a rainy day or a snowing day. You might need longer, but even 5 or 10 minutes within the first hour or two that the sun rises, and then the last 2 hours before the sun sets. That wavelength of light when the sun is at a low angle helps us reset our melatonin circadian rhythm. And that will help us with our sleep. And so the thing is, we have too much blue light from our devices, our TV, our iPad, our laptop, our LED lights, our fluorescent lights. And so we have blue light toxicity, which is interrupting that melatonin production in that time from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., like in that 4 hours before we want to go to sleep.
Yeah, for sure. And that's usually when a lot of people are on, like experiencing the most blue light sometimes throughout the day.
Sometimes people sleep with a device turned on in their bedroom. Like I've seen people like have their laptop open with a screensaver on in the room that they're trying to sleep in, or they fall asleep to the TV being on and the TV stays on. So you're exposing yourself to all this blue light. Sometimes people wear blue light glasses, and blue light glasses, my first preference would be for them to be away from the screens and to dim the lights. But sometimes if people are wearing blue light glasses, there's a whole variety of quality. Some only block 6% of the blue light, some block 70%. So quality matters. Some blue light glasses or blue light blockers just have a film on them, and some have the quality of it like ground into the actual lens so that if you scratch the lens, it doesn't disrupt the film. So the quality is very different.
So interesting. Okay. I'm loving all this information that you're sharing, Linda. I really love this. Yeah, no, and because like I said, it's so practical and everybody can start to implement this even today, right? And so what is the fourth tip that you have? And then I'm going to ask you a couple more questions before we start to wrap up. So what would be your fourth tip?
Getting grounded. So we are subjected to EMF radiation. Have you ever been downtown or in an apartment or a condo or at a school and you look for Wi-Fi and 30 choices come up? You just think, oh my gosh, I'm in the invisible Wi-Fi radiation bubble of all of these 30 overlapping radiation fields. And that can be hard on the body. The way we counteract that is being in touch with the ground. So hands or feet, skin touching the ground. And I know this is going to sound like I'm a tree hugger, but it is like the antidote. If you think about it, you could wake up in a condo, put on your shoes, go outside, be on concrete, be in your car, go into your office building or your school, come back home, do the reverse, and never be in touch with the ground for years until you go to the vacation. And then you're on the beach and you think, oh, I feel so good on the beach. It's like you feel good because you're touching the ground. Having some ground connection, like it literally, if I look at a plug-in, how you have two prongs and you have a grounding wire, you need that. Your own personal electromagnetism field has absorbed a lot of radiation, and even more so if you fly in an airplane because you're about 30,000 feet and you're exposed to the sun in an aluminum can, basically. If you are getting x-rays, if you work in a place that has x-rays or the computers are on all the time. So the grounding is huge. It's very healing, and it can be very, very calming.
Wow. And that's such an insane example you gave, that analogy that some people might not even have their feet hit the ground for years. Yet that there's so much truth in that, I feel. And it could be so simple once again as just going and standing outside for a few minutes. You could hit up all those. You could go stand outside, look up at the light, go for a little walk, do some nostril breathing.
But can do it. Can we have it, Stack? Now you're reading my mail, right? This is what we try to do in our household. It's so important, and it makes a difference. Like even if you think, oh, I can't do 3 days, do 1 day, because it immediately makes a difference. I can remember this time last year, I was at a funeral. And I was wearing bare feet in slides, and we were at the cemetery. And it was so heart-wrenching. It was one of my son's friends, a very young man. And I just stepped out of my shoes and I stood on the grass and I just felt, okay, I can do this.
That's powerful. Thanks for sharing that. And as you bring that up, it makes me think the last question I have, and then I always ask 3 questions at the end. And I want to also ask the listeners where we can find you. Yet, as you're speaking about that, I'm just curious because this is also such great information, Linda. Yet, what are some best ways that you can talk to your children who are going through mental health and possible anxiety and all of the things that they're going through about some of these mindfulness tools in a way that is impactful, age appropriate, comforting, they're going to want to start to do it. Do you have some support or guidance about how to start to even bring these practices into the family?
This is a beautiful question. I literally draw that nervous system. This nervous system, central nervous system, autonomic, and the autonomic has a gas and a brake. And I draw it like a yin yang symbol. And I say, we need both. And we can't be all heavy on one side, because then we'll feel bad. If on either side, you'll feel bad. The key is to have some of each. And I think one of the ways that you can synchronize your circadian rhythm with other family members, one of the most effective is to eat at the same time. Having a meal together as often as you can. I get it, but sometimes you're rushing. Kids have lessons or people are driving. And ask the question, what is something you're looking forward to this week? I always ask this on a Sunday. I say, what are you looking forward to this week? Or my granddaughter had roses and thorns. What are 3 roses from today? And what were 3 thorns from today? And so building a gratitude practice helps them articulate it, feel safe in expressing themselves, and look for solutions as opposed to getting stuck thinking about the problem. And having that celebration of not to be a natural cheerleader, but to have a celebration of the roses, like the beautiful parts of the day, is its own natural dopamine hit. And dopamine sounds like a feel-good chemical, and it is, but more than that, it's a chemical of motivation to keep going. And so it gives people a chance to be heard. It gives you a chance to connect with what's going on in the day. It gives them a chance to be celebrated. And it gives them a chance to look forward.
I love it. Thanks for sharing all of this, Linda. I'm already sitting here thinking I'm going to send this to all of my friends and people I know, because not even just parents or people with children, just everybody could use this guidance that you've been talking about today, right? And if there's things that we could be doing to support our health and our mental health, why not? And so just thank you so much. So Linda, where can people find you? Because I have a feeling people are really going to get value from your call today. And so can you just share a little bit about what you do and what you have to offer, and then where people can find you? And I'll put it in the show notes, but I would love it just from your mouth to the listeners' ears to just learn a little bit about yourself.
What I love to do, my passion is to teach people. I do it in many different forms. I have a podcast. It's called Celebrating Delicious Movement. I have courses that are live and pre-recorded for self-study. I have a membership that's called Level Up Fitness, where I coach people twice a week on their actual fitness routine, but I include programs like this discussion within it for them. I also have a team of practitioners who bring their expertise, whether it's different healing modalities, breath work, meditation, fitness training, nutrition, coaching for people's voices so that they feel heard. I have programs to condition your abs, to master menopause, all kinds of things. Like it's a health and wellness fitness concierge. And I also have a deep passion for epigenetics, which is turning our genes on for more youthful expression. So people can find me on my website, lindaghesketh.com. And there is a free offer there for how to salvage the day after you've had a poor sleep.
Oh my God. Thank you. This is what everything you just shared is so you. I vouch for you 100%. Linda, I don't know if I said this in my intro yet. What I love about you is you really operate from the heart. You are a teacher, by the way, yet you teach in a way because you want to create an impact for people to live a better life. And that has been my experience of you since I met you. You have, I don't even know, 30-ish more years of experience with this. And like you have the credibility to back everything that you talk about, yet you do it with such a big heart. And I just encourage everybody to reach out to you and follow you and take a look at what you have to offer. because you do it all for the right reasons, but also you know what you're talking about and you help people get results. And I love that. So I just appreciate you sharing here today. And I have 3 last questions. If you can answer them in short form, 1 sentence each type thing that I ask all of my guests. And so my question for you today,
You're in the hot seat.
what would you say today would be your version of success?
My version of success would be to operate in our zone of genius with ease and flow and no comparison to other people in their path.
Oh, perfect. And that's absolutely what you do and who you are. And okay, 3 tips to unleash someone's inner greatness.
Breathe, meditate, and operate from love.
And let's leave the listeners with 1 call of action. So when they get off this episode, I know they're going to be inspired. What's 1 thing you would say for them to just start implementing today?
The nostril breathing. I have actually pondered this. If I was to leave the world with 1 message, is to breathe. And it will have just this far-reaching ripple effect that we cannot even begin to calculate the positive impact. Yeah.
Wow. I love it. Just breathe, everybody. And that's what this call has been. You've been a breath of fresh air. Love having you on here. Love being your friend. Thank you for always leaving me better than you found me. I really do mean that. And I know that we've left the listeners better than we found them today. And so, Linda, thank you so much. And good luck with everything you're doing. And you're just making a big
Thank you,
impact.
Kelly.
So
you bring out the best in people. You are just so gifted and you share that. I appreciate that a lot.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. I always learn so much from Linda. I promise you, I mean it when I say she's my friend, that every time I leave her, I feel smarter because she is that person who always said, did you know? And she's always educating and she's always teaching and she's doing it in a way of being of service because she wants you to have the information so you can be healthier, you can live a better quality of life. And that's just what I love about her so much. She's so genuine with that. And so really grateful to have had her on the podcast. Linda, thank you so much around such a, I think, relatable and relevant topic as families go through dealing with mental health and just the aftermath of, it doesn't even have to be COVID, just life nowadays, right? And if we can have some tools so that we could be more equipped to be better within ourselves, with our mindset and our health, and then be able to pour from a full cup to our families. That's how we want it to be, right? And so for those of you who are listening, I hope you got value from today's call. If you did, please like and comment, leave me a review, and just thinking of everybody out there, and really love today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. With love, greatness, and success, it's your host, Kelly Beveridge.